It's been a solid month since the latest version of the Apple Watch, the Series 9, hit the shelves, so let's go over all the good, the bad, and if I've enjoyed using this as a constant wrist companion. First off, let's set the groundwork and talk about what specific version of the watch I purchased. Yes, nobody loaned, gave, shipped, or dropped on my doorstep this watch. I purchased the cheapest 41mm GPS variant for $399. You can get a slightly larger 44mm version for $429, and for $100 more on top of either of those, you could get cellular included. I didn't do that this time because I wanted to get back to my roots and check out the absolute cheapest of a product line to see how it's doing. I feel like I've been straying towards those higher end items, but that's not me. I'm a simple, budget-minded person. Spec updates this time around, I mean, there's not too much different between last year, and some of the major ones we'll talk about here in a little bit as part of the impressions in progress that make up my videos, but the main ones are, you get the latest S9 processor, a much brighter display, slightly better battery life, and the double tap notification checker. Wow, that was easy. I wish all spec overviews were so quick. So let's move over to the things I've liked. First up being, wow, this is a comfortable watch to wear. I've been wearing the Apple Watch Ultra for so long that I forgot just how nice, compact, and I don't know, cozy the original Apple Watch can be. As you can see, I purchased it this year with a Nike sports band, only to immediately break my ankle and not be able to run anywhere. But the combination of these two together, it fits my wrist perfectly. It's not so small that you can't see the face, display, or any notifications as they come in, but we will talk more about the display itself here in a little bit. It's just that the watch isn't so big that you'll notice it throughout the day. I do still enjoy the Apple Watch Ultra, but I've never been the biggest fan of big watches. I don't like it when I can feel the body of a watch press up against the top of my hand, like right here, or the top of my forearm when I'm going throughout my day. This standard Apple Watch with its rounded edges and compact size fits on my wrist almost without me knowing it's there. And the updated watch band from Nike, while it's not as good as the Trail Loop from the Ultra, it does feel pretty darn good, and it feels like a step up from previous cloth style sport loops. Comparing the sizes of the Ultra and the regular, now that I've got the regular on my wrist, the Ultra almost feels like a little wrist mounted computer, but the regular feels more like a watch. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it's how the two kind of feel on the wrist. The next thing I've really liked is the update to the display. 2000 nits of max brightness doesn't sound like that big of an upgrade, but how many times have you been outside walking or hanging around and you've had to like shield your watch from the sun so you can see the time or actually read a notification? For me, it's more than I'd like, and this updated display is shockingly brighter than what you'd expect. I didn't think I'd be too won over here. Obviously, there isn't some kind of revolution in display bezels or 3D holographic AI-powered communicator tech inside of the Apple Watch Series 9, but from a practical, usable standpoint, this screen is much better than previous models. I also think it's just gorgeous to look at, and it still has the smooth scrolling and smooth operation that I've come to expect from the Apple Watch lineup. Colors look great, the watch faces are still, if not more so, highly customizable, and you can continue using portraits of family members as your backdrop. You can tell how boring of a person I am because I always end up defaulting to this watch face on almost all of my watches. See, right there? It's just so nice to look down and see big, bold letterings of the time. Like, that's what I need a watch for, to tell me the time. That's the easiest way to know what time it is. Still kind of speaking about the display because it's where all the interaction is, the updated watchOS is actually pretty nice. It is a little more fluid, and I prefer how the widgets work as you scroll up on the crown compared to previous OS iterations. I've rarely found myself actually going into specific apps anymore, and I essentially run the watch straight off the widgets tab. Something else that I can't exactly nail down, and it could be all in my head, but the watch feels so much easier to use than previous standard Apple Watches. Looking over the user interface, I think Apple has subtly made the buttons as big as possible while making things easier to tap. You've heard me mention this in the Apple Watch Ultra videos, but one of the biggest selling points in this watch was the supreme easiness of tapping on the screen even while I'm out running or backpacking. That's really important if you're trying to find proper action music, but you keep skipping your favorite song. Obviously, I haven't been running too much lately, but even when walking around the house, I find tapping the screen and maneuvering around the interface is so much easier with watchOS 10. Also, I really like how the apps are laid. I just like the whole experience. I have been dabbling with the Samsung Galaxy Watch, and I really like that user interface, and I really like the physical shape of that watch. But I do prefer the standard Apple Watch over that Samsung Watch, thanks to the updates to watchOS. Plus, it's just, I don't know, I gotta tell you team, this is off script right now, but just having this small watch again reminds me of why I got an Apple Watch in the first place. The next thing I've liked is more of a continuation from previous years. The build quality is outstanding. Even this base model watch still feels like it's made of the same high quality components as the more expensive versions. This shell is aluminum and not stainless steel, so that is a difference, but I think it looks fantastic and it looks like you got your money's worth. Nothing drives me more crazy than spending a lot of money on a relatively high-end product only for it to show up looking all ragged and cheap. Thankfully, this watch continues the very high standards set by the Apple Watch lineup. And I think the last major thing that I've enjoyed is now low-powered mode has moved from the Ultra series down to the standard series. This turns off a lot of the background processes and high-end features inside of the watch in an effort to make the battery last as long as possible. This will supposedly give you double battery life. So Apple claims you can get up to 36 hours of battery life in the Series 9 low power mode, which is pretty darn good for such a small watch. If that's double, right, standard life should be about 18 hours, and that moves us into something that I haven't liked as much. While this is much more enjoyable and it's much more comfortable than my Apple Watch Ultra, battery life is still the Achilles heel of smartwatches. I talk to a lot of folks about tech in my regular day, and the single biggest drawback for folks moving to a smartwatch is battery life. And on the Series 9, I can almost feel the battery draining throughout the day. I haven't yet had a day where the battery dies on me like all out, but I do find that I need to charge it every day. Now that's not exactly a deal breaker for me. I charge my phone and my watch every night at bedtime. I mean, I do wish it were better, but it's part of my natural routine. However, I can go whole days without even thinking about the battery on the Apple Watch Ultra. And that goes really well with my phone because I can also go days without thinking about it. And that matters when I'm traveling for work, because if I'm only going for an overnight or a 2-day business trip, I won't pack a bunch of extra accessories to make sure that this stuff still works. I just throw the phone in my bag, I put on the Ultra, and boom, done. But here I wouldn't do the same. So if that's important to you, traveling, a lot of us travel a lot, please keep that in mind. So after 1 month, how am I feeling about the Apple Watch Series 9? Well, I actually like it a lot. It's crazy comfy, it's very powerful, very user-friendly, and it's about as fun as a watch can be to use. For recommendations, I wouldn't upgrade this over a Series 7 or 8 unless you have problems seeing the screen outdoors, and I wouldn't move from an Apple Watch Ultra to here unless you wanted to move back to a smaller watch, which, I mean, you might. It has been very enjoyable. But if you wanted to get the latest, best smartwatch in the market, I can easily recommend the Apple Watch Series 9. It's probably going to replace my Ultra as my standard daily watch because it's so good to wear. But what about you? Do you have the Series 9? Are you thinking about buying the Series 9? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, click here to see why the iPhone 15 Pro Max did not get the same glowing recommendation. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.